Yo, what up, hey, how you doing, guys? My name is Sangiev and today we are back with another video, and as you can see from the title, we're going to be updating a video that I had released 6 years ago. Obviously, a lot has changed, and one of the comments even said something along the lines of, I would love to see a reaction video looking back at this with our current take on things. So instead of a reaction video, I thought I would redo the entire video itself. Now I'm going to be using a different ranking system this time. In the previous video, which you can't see but it's pulled up right here, we used a pyramid, like a GOAT pyramid tier list. And this was great because it allowed us to be super decisive and cutthroat in the sense of there is one boot which is the best, and then it will trickle down with various tiers. However, in 2025, I feel like there are simply too many amazing boots. So we are going to be using the more commonly used tier system. It goes S, A, B, C, D, E, F. I don't think we'll go down to F. I think we're probably going to cut the line at D because these are the best boots. I'm not going to be shitting on any boots. There's not any boots that I wouldn't recommend or that I don't think are good already. So the baseline is these are good boots. And then within that, we're going to pick out the best. Now, also worth mentioning, kind of obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. This list is subjective. This is my opinion. Now, I'm going to be trying my best to be objective, but of course, personal biases are going to get involved. And I've also actually asked you guys' opinion on Instagram to shoot me your favorite boots. So I've included some of those as well, some of which I haven't owned, some of which actually it's very rare that I came across a pair that I didn't know. Not to flex, but I'm a bit of a boots aficionado, if you will. Oh, and one last thing as well to keep it even fairer, I'm not going to be including any of the Sangiev boots because I would just put them in S tier, and then it definitely does not become objective whatsoever. So the Sangiev boots are out of the picture. We've got a bunch of different ones that we're going to be ranking. This might end up being a long video, so grab yourself a drink and let's get into it. The camera is here, my screen is here, so if you see me not look at you and look at the screen, that is why. Also, I do apologize about the sun going in and out and therefore my face being bright or not. It's backlit, it's not the most ideal, but this is what I gotta work with. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go. Starting off, the Yeezy 950s, iconic pair of boots that have kind of stood the test of time. I don't know, let me look it up. When did they Adidas 950 released? Oh wow, 2015. God damn. Okay, so for a boot that was released in 2015, so exactly 10 years later, that can still be worn, still look fashionable, and within the current trend, if you will, of like these big chunky boots. Am I starting too high? Initially, I was gonna put them in the B rank. However, they're 10 years old. The creative director has gone off the rails a little bit, but I think that warrants an A rank, man. This is a controversial take straight away. I'm not gonna lie, up until I checked the date of when they were released, I was gonna put them in B, but knowing that it's been 10 years and they're still low-key relevant, that deserves A. Next up, we have the Balenciaga Stomper boots, and man, these boots came up a ton when I asked you guys' opinion on Instagram for your favorite boots. I personally don't have them. Now, I have seen them in person, my friends own them. I think they look fantastic. A really strong boot that gives you a lot of styling options. So yes, they are recent, but I think Balenciaga Stomper boots have to be A as well. I think the shuffling rounds are gonna come in clutch because otherwise I'm just gonna rank everything as A, and that is no bueno. Especially with the ones coming up next, the Red Wings A875. Now, this is a pair of boots that is very specific in taste, and I do believe that once you reach, like I'm in my 30s now. I'm no longer the 22-year-old Sag that had a different outlook on fashion. And even then, to be fair, I had these Red Wings. I definitely think as you mature in your taste and as you mature in your fashion journey, if you will, you do find little pockets of comfort. And I feel like for a lot of people, the Red Wings are their goats. Personally, it isn't mine. However, because it's such an iconic boot that, I mean, in terms of construction, incredible. But purely in terms of a cultural, what's the word? Like a standpoint or like a stamp, I feel like Red Wings, technically they should be an S class. But again, do I put them in A? Let me put them in S. Okay, so the 877 mock toe is from the 1950s. So these boots are 70 odd years old, man. Obviously they've gone through their little tweaks here and there, but the fact that they're 70 and still worn and adored, they have to be an S tier, I'm sorry. Next up, we have the ROA hiking boots. Again, not a pair that I've owned in my personal collection. However, a few of you guys mentioned it on Instagram. The one person that literally pops into my brain whenever I see them is Jacob Wallace. I think they're great. They are basically just your standard hiking boots. I mean, ROA is a what's the word? What's the word? You know when something is designed for sports and has a specific purpose? So yes, they have a lifestyle bracket, but it is primarily a function-driven brand. The likes of an Arc'teryx, basically. So because of that, I'm gonna put them in C. They're great, but they're not like wow. Okay, let's not dilly-dally too long. We've only done 4 pairs of boots, and I feel like this has already gone way longer than it needs to be. Next up, we have the Legacy and Guidi boots. I'm not sure, man. This might be a D, and I don't mean that as like a knock, because I think both of these brands are incredible on their own, and they have created a beautiful product, but that's all it is. It's a beautiful product, and when it comes to the hierarchy of boots, I think it will be very rare to see them pop up anything higher than that. And speaking of, we're gonna put the Balenciaga Tyrex boots in there as well. Now, I personally love motorcycle boots. I think they're awesome. Balenciaga has championed them as well. They're the only sort of big fashion brand that I can think of that has done their take of motorcycle boots and done them successfully. Now, this specific version, which was from a couple of years back, I'm gonna put that in D, just because, I mean, it looks okay and it's fashion forward, but the variation that they released, I wanna say 2 years ago, I should probably have this in this list, but that would be like a C. But these, I'm gonna do a D. Next up, we have the Bottega Veneta lug boots. And these I'm gonna have to go a B, man. Yeah, straight off the bat. Like, it doesn't need much justification. I think they look amazing. Out of the out of the Bottega Veneta boots that we have in this list, I think we have maybe 2 or 3. Then these are sort of like your box standard. They're really nice. You kind of can't go wrong with them, which I guess is a fantastic thing to have. And they do come up quite high in a lot of people's opinions of boots. So for that reason, it's a B. Plus, not to give it away, there's another pair of Bottega boots. In fact, if we're already going to speak about it, the Bottega Veneta lean boot, and that I'm gonna chuck as an A. Because I think the lean is much sexier, it's much cleaner, it's much more versatile than the lug, hence why it's going to go in the A tier as opposed to in B. Boom, we've knocked 2 birds in 1 stone there. Next up, we have the Calvin Klein metallic toe cap Chelsea boots. Now, I just referred back to my previous video and I kind of had it in the 4th tier, and I think this is where it will be in this video as well. So let me just chuck it into the C. Great boot. It's a Chelsea boot, so it looks fantastic. It's just an iconic silhouette. Personally, I think there are better iterations of Chelsea boots. And one thing that I must say about this specific pair of boots, yes, they're fantastic. However, the leather didn't age that well. I don't know what sort of finish they did on the leather or the leather itself that they chose, but it definitely did not age beautifully. So now we're getting into the big boy territory, and I believe these are called the CCP AM2598. I don't own them. I don't know many people that do own them, but boy, do they look absolutely amazing. Now we're going off heritage here by saying that CCP typically tends to use amazing leathers, so I'm assuming it's the same here. Now, I'm a big sucker for any fold over design when it comes to shoes. You can see it in my own pair. So I'm gonna do a B, but like a very strong B. In my opinion, these are between an A and a B. Truth be told, they aren't as poppin' for it to be an A. Now, some might say CCP is too niche for it to be poppin', but I disagree, because we have another pair of CCPs in here, the CCP prosthetics, which I might as well rank now. These, for me, strong A tier, because not only do they look incredible, The fabric is amazing. I love the design touch with the metal plates. They are popping. Like, if you are into your niche avant-garde fashion bubble, there's a good chance you own these boots, and there's a good chance you absolutely love these boots. I personally owned them for a couple of months. I bought them in the wrong size, so I had to let them go. But if I can get them today in the right size, in this very specific colorway that I'm after, it's sort of green. It's more of like a white with hues of green. I think it's such an awesome color, and I don't know if they even have them in my size. I'm not really in a buying mood right now, but if I were to, those would be on my list. I think so far, I'm happy with the way that the list is looking, so I'm not going to reshuffle too much. We're going to move on straight into the next pair of boots, and those are the Dirk Bickenberg bungee cord boots. Once again, B tier, because of the same reasons as the previously mentioned CCP boots. They are incredible. I've had a pair. The material used is amazing. They are near enough 20 years old, if not 30, because I believe they were released in the 90s. To be fair, one might argue that it can definitely be in the A tier. For me personally, an A tier boot, there needs to be an element of like, yo, at one point in time, this boot was seen a lot. Whether that's in your publications, social media, real life, I think there needs to be that element in the A tier, which unfortunately the Dirk Bickenbergs just do not have, because they're too much of a niche boot, but they're an incredible niche boot. So I must say, very, very strong B tier. Next up, we have the Doc Martens 1460 S. Has to be. It simply has to be. For so many people, myself included, this was our first step into boots. This was me at the age of 16, yeah, roughly around the time that I wore my first pair of skinny jeans. This is as true then as it is now. So many people's first boot are the Doc Martens because they are well made. Now, some might argue that since production was taken away from England and moved to China, that there's loads of discrepancies and they don't fit the same and they don't, last as long, blah, 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 blah. But overall, Doc Martens, iconic, affordable, many people's first boot, and for that reason alone, it has to be an S tier. Now, obviously, with time, they've done plenty of collaborations, one of them being the Rick Owens ones, and I'm gonna put them in the... It's between a B and a C for me. But let's just do C because I feel like the B ones are a bit too good. I should have really planned this ahead. I'm kind of going off the dome here, but yeah, I'll keep them to a C. I might reshuffle them later. I think they're a great boot, and I love the fact that they kind of play the similar role of like, so the basic Doc Martens are a lot of people's first boot. The Doc Martens Rick Owens collaboration could be the first like step into luxury footwear, if you will. They're not quite at the price point of luxury footwear. If you wore them and you like the look of them, then perhaps you then went on to purchase a lot more luxury footwear. So for that reason, that, to be fair, it's valid enough for B, but let's just keep it to C for now, and we'll keep it pushing. Now, next up, we have a pair of boots that I don't own personally, but it has popped up quite a few times in the Instagram recommendations. In fact, these next two boots, both from the same brand, but I'm gonna rank them together. We have the Michigan boot, which is like their combat boots. That for me is a B. And then we have their Bottega boot, which is their Chelsea boot. I'm gonna do a D, because when it comes to Chelsea boots, now granted these two boots are a lot more affordable than a lot of the other options that I've presented here today. But when it comes to Chelsea boots, I just think you can find so many other better Chelsea boots. So for me, the Bottega, which is their Chelsea boots, that's going to be a D. Now their Michigan boots, I think it's such a nice take on a chunky combat boot. It's not too high, which means that a lot of people can gravitate towards it, they can style it. And again, kind of playing the similar role as to what the DMs were. They could be like a first foray into luxury footwear because they're not the most expensive, but they're also not super cheap. So you do have to make a conscious decision when purchasing them. And yeah, I just think they look great as well. So strong B candidate. Another addition to the B team, we have the Hellier Emile hiking boot. In my opinion, hiking boot done perfectly, which would make it an A. Could it be an A? Okay, it's between an A and I don't know, man. I think there's such a nice hiking boot. Now, this is definitely a personal thing. I love when hiking boots are a little bit chunky. In fact, man, I did not include them. The Guidi hiking boots. Oh my god, they are incredible hiking boots. Okay, no, I'll put this as a B. The Guidi boots, for example, the Guidi hiking boots, I'm gonna put, oh my god, they cropped it in such a weird way. Guidi hiking boots, A tier, because this, in my opinion, are the best hiking boots. Chef kiss perfection. There isn't much else to be added or to be tweaked to that can make them much better. And so for that reason, honestly, they could even be an S. They're just not, they're not iconic enough to be an S in my opinion. So for that, I'm gonna do A tier for the Guidi hiking boots and B tier for the Hellier Emile hiking boots, which are honestly very close second in terms of how beautiful and well executed of a hiking boot it is. Okay, Maison Margiela, Martin. What happened to Martin? Did that just get tossed to the side? And it just went Maison Margiela. Tabis. Honestly, if you were to ask me, and this is one where I'm going to be swaying more towards the people. If you were to ask me, B tier. But for how much people love this pair of boots, not necessarily the white version, but whether it's black, whether it's brown, and obviously the resurgence of the tabby boots and tabby footwear over the last sort of 3-4 years due to TikTok and social media, I think it deserves its rank in A tier. It's a beautiful boot. I still have my pair, I believe. The Rick Owens Kiss heels. Whew! Very divisive. Divisive? A pair that has a lot of people split in opinions. I think it's between an A and a B. I'm gonna put them in the B just because of how niche of a boot they are. Personally, I absolutely love them. I still have my pair. I had a few. I've cut down the collection to just one, which is this one, the black on black, because they're the most versatile, they're the most wearable, and I'm putting that in quotation mark because I know that for a lot of people these aren't, and that is the reason why they're in the B. They are simply, for as beautiful as they are and as amazing as they look, they're too niche, and putting them in the A tier would be, I think we'll be putting a lot of pressure on them. So I think they're good in B. Rick Owens Bozo tractor boots. Bozo, B for Bozo. B tier. Great boots. That's it. That's literally all I have to say. They're great. They're well made. They look amazing. But not quite A tier. And they're definitely better than C and D. So B tier seems fair. Next up we have the Rick Owens Ballast thigh-high boots in the C tier. Thigh-high, I'm gonna put in the, it's so weird. Again, oh my god, I did not add them. Bro, what's going on? The thigh-high boots are in the D tier. I had a pair, I thought they were awesome. They're so fucking hard to fit. Unless you're like stick thin, no chance. I don't even have the biggest of thighs. In fact, my legs are fairly, somewhat skinny actually, compared to the rest of my body. I'm like an ice cream shape, as my girlfriend loves to point out, but the thigh high is, yeah, unless you're super skinny, it's not happening. The ballast boots, however, the version with the metal poppers on the side, they would be an A tier. They are incredible. I think they are some of my favorite boots that I have yet to come across in my size, or the only person that I ever saw them selling them in my size was asking for like a ridiculous price, and I was like, that's just not happening. I'm not paying that. So thigh-high ballast boots, D tier. SLP Wyatt. Oh my days, fam. S tier. Need I say much more about these boots? Iconic. I don't want to say what started the YouTube channel because that wasn't the case. I was doing videos before them, but they were like, even when I started it, this was a pair that I aspired to have enough money to purchase them. Eventually did, and I wore them to pieces. I've cut down my collection of footwear by a lot, like a lot, and this is a pair of boots that I just refuse to sell, primarily because the boots are absolutely cooked and I don't think anybody would pay for them, sorry. But yeah, for what they meant to the men's, this seems like I'm fucking glazing the fuck out of these boots, but for what they meant for me and for a lot of people when it comes to footwear, especially boots, especially these sleek sort of like rock star pirate style boots, if you will. Hedi was going to do what Hedi does anyway, but this boot solidified for me who he is as a designer and his approach to his designs and that whole Hedi Slimane image. So yeah, this is an S tier. Bottega Veneta paddle boots, D. I don't know how they made this list, to be honest with you. I don't even think they're that great of a boot. And I said I wouldn't shit on any boots, but if I was to shit on a boot, it would be this one, D tier. Next up we have the Balenciaga Trooper boots, a pair that I owned. Again, D. That might be harsh. They could be a C. This particular version was the rubber variation, which wore like shit in the sense of any minor marks and you would get a scuff. Kind of cool because, as I always say, it shows character and you don't want something to look too pretty, but it just didn't work. And the shape also made it super hard to put on and wear for like a long period of time. Now, I believe the leather variation that they came out with was a lot more wearable and it looked a lot better, so the execution was done better. The leather variation may be a C, but these, strong D. Okay, next up, Tim's. S tier. It simply has to be iconic. Whenever you think like, oh yeah, Tim's are going out of style, they're never quite out of style. Even in my short period of time of being involved is a strong word, of being interested in fashion and seeing the trends and the highs and the lows of specific items, I think I've seen Tim's come back as a trend 3 times in the last 10 to 15 years. Obviously you have places like New York which will never let the Tims die down, but for anywhere else in the world like London, Paris, wherever, Tims have its highs and lows, but it's still a classic, iconic footwear, and for that it has to be an S. Speaking of S, this particular pair of boots, the Guidi PL2s, I love them. These, for me, they've overtaken the SLP Wyatts, which is a tough thing to say because I used to beat the Wyatts to death. I wore them with absolutely everything. But the Guidis is that times 10. The shape, the simplicity, the leather they use, just everything about it is 10. I must say, I've had my pair of Guidi boots now for, I don't know, 5 years, if not longer. The pull tab has come off. In fact, look at it. Can the camera focus? Let's see. Yeah, there it is. That is the pull tab that has completely broken, and it's broken on both sides, like on both shoes, which is kind of annoying because it happened like 2 weeks apart from each other. So that's a shame, but I can get that replaced without having to buy an entirely new shoe, so that's always a plus. Guidi PL2's S tier. I think everybody would agree with that. Okay, we're working our way through this list. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but we keep it pushing. Reese Cooper Wilson boots. Another take on like a hiking boot, yeah? C. They're good. They're not like wowzers. I don't really see them sitting in the B tier with what we have got going on at the moment. So I think C is strong. Yeah, C tiers are just like a strong pair of boots. I love the contrast of the sole and the upper. It's not something that I thought I would gravitate towards, but I think it's been executed beautifully, and with the red laces, chef kiss, can't complain. Okay, next up we have pretty much the only pair of vintage boots to this list, and those are the Austrian paratrooper boots. Now I'm gonna put them in the B tier. That was a fairly quick decision because I guess I had some time to reflect on this. So for me, I have never owned these boots. However, I know of them and I know that they're great, and I know that they've inspired so many countless boots, especially when it comes to the combat boots category. And for that reason, I think a B is what makes sense. Now, since we're talking about combat boots, I know that I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but I'm going to put the Dior Navigates in the A. This was a pair of boots that I absolutely love. Pretty sure in my previous video, I might have put them up way higher than I have currently. Having owned them and worn them, now this is a personal thing. I love boots with laces, but it takes, like, I much prefer zip boots because of how easy it is to put them on. And the Dior Navigator always took forever to put on, especially because you had to take the laces and go around the boot a few times before tying the knot. And so that's such a minor reason to not make it an S tier. I just don't think they warrant the S tier title, but a strong A. The running hiking boots, that's a B as well. It's the only pair of hiking boots from this list that I have, and I absolutely love them. Not just because it's running, but they're a fantastic boot. They look amazing, they feel amazing, they can be styled in so many ways. You can wear them with shorts, you can wear them with trousers, with jeans, with you name it, they look cool with it. I love the different lacing options that we get given as well. And like the few other boots, despite me cutting down my shoe collection by 3/4, it's the one pair of boot that has sort of stood the test and it's still in my wardrobe. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, the only reason why it's not an A tier is because we have the Guidis, which in my opinion is still like the GOAT of hiking boots. Next up, we have the Rick Owens Mega Bozo Chelsea boots. Okay, this is a good, honestly, it's between a B and a C. I think they're too good to be in the C, so I'm gonna put them in the B. If you want Chelsea boots, but you don't want to go for the sleek approach and you want something a bit more chunky, then these are like well executed. Yeah, I'm happy with that. We have the Visvim Grizzly boots. Now this particular version that I've got in this list is the medium version, but they've got like a taller version. Both of them are A tier. Anything that Visvim does, and that's not to like glaze them too hard, but they're such a thoughtful brand. Everything that they do, and this is like one of the highest compliments I can pay to a brand, everything that they do, they seek to do the best of. More often than not, that is reflected on their ridiculous price points. And I'm not justifying their price points because I think some of it is truly ridiculous. But when you're a brand that pays so much attention to details, to the craft and just everything about it, it's the one brand, or one of the few brands I can honestly say, I know that whatever they go on to produce, or they have produced, they have done their utmost best to do the best that they could. Hence why I'm putting the Visvim Grizzly boots in the A tier. Now we have the Ore combat boots. The boy and the beautiful brand will have to go NB, because B's are really good. They're beautiful, they are extremely well made, they fit amazing, they look great, they can be styled perfectly. And for me, biased take, I'm pretty sure Ore was the first sort of influencer YouTuber brand that did footwear, at least at that level. And I think it's just so beautifully executed. It's allowed many creatives the belief and the faith to do their own takes on shoes, myself included. And for that reason, it has to be a strong B, potentially even an A, but I think a B is where it shall reside. Balenciaga harness boots. Man, I probably ranked them way higher in my last video because I had them, I liked them. Since then, got rid of them. I think it's a D. D might be harsh, but I do think it's A. It's Balenciaga's take on a harness boot, square toe. Now the fabric used, beautiful, the construction, everything about it. It's a really weighty boot, which it doesn't need to be. I have combat boots. I'm pretty sure my Riot boots, which are much bigger than those, are much lighter than those. It's such a hefty, heavy boot to just wear and lug around. And yeah, man, I liked it. That's why I purchased them and I wore them for so many years. But looking back at it now, I don't think I'd purchase them. So it's a D tier for me, and that's no knock on it, because as I said before, this is a list of great boots, and this is simply in the D tier of the greatest, if you will. Raf Simons Solaris boots in the D tier. You know something that I thought as I was collecting the images for this video? Raf, for how amazing of a designer he is, especially when it comes to clothing, his footwear actually, I was going to say some wild, outrageous stuff, but I remembered his sneakers. Sneakers aside, can you think of some really nice Raf shoes? Because icon. I mean, yeah, I guess the CK metal plate Chelsea boots was his. But I just think, I don't know, there's not like an iconic piece of footwear from the Raf Simons main line besides the sneakers, which is a wild thing considering he's almost synonymous for iconic designs. One might argue that the resurgence of bunny boots was due to him showcasing them in his fashion show and has then trickled down to the masses, but they're not his. In fact, I'm surprised the bunny boots aren't in this video. They should be in this video. They should definitely be in this video. And they would be like a strong B to A tier, but they're not in this video, so let me not speak about it. Okay, next up we have the Peter Doe combat boots, strong C. I've never owned them. I love the metal plate detailing. They're not quite a B tier because I simply think they are better boots. And the Millimista lace boots, these are a B. Iconic, beautiful. One thing that always irked me about them was their lack of a heel. And since I purchased a pair, there's been various variations with different heights of heels. So yeah, the only critique I had of them had been erased. So B tier. The Yeezy insulated boots. These are a B/C. Now, firstly, I know that some might argue that this isn't a boot and it's more of a sneaker or like a hybrid sneaker. Now, I think it is a boot. It does fall into the category of a boot. I own a pair. I'm gonna be honest, they're not the most comfiest of shoes. It takes quite a bit of wear to get used to it, but once you're in and you do get used to it, I think they're absolutely amazing. They can be styled in so many different ways. They look incredible with so many pieces, and I'm just a big fan. I mean, you definitely shouldn't agree with some of his political takes and just moral compass, but the man knew how to make incredible music, and he knows how to design good shoes. Like shoes, you cannot knock him. The man knows his stuff. Okay, the camera has now overheated 3 times, which means that the video is way too long. So I'm gonna blitz through these last few boots. Our Legacy Camion boot, A tier. I don't own a pair, and I don't think I will own a pair because I just don't see the need for them in my wardrobe, to be completely honest with you. However, this was by far the most popular boots that you had all mentioned in my poll over on Instagram. I've seen them on the likes of Daniel. I've seen them on basically anyone and everyone. Much like what Doc Martens did for a lot of people in terms of the first boot. I feel like the Our Legacy ones play that same role. Granted, they're a bit more expensive. They honestly could be an S tier, but I think A tier seems fair, and I'm sure some people might disagree with that. Some people might put it in the S. I think it's a strong A. The Guidi back zip boot, which I think, let me just refer to my phone real quick. These are the 788, similar to the PL2s, but just the back zip. Again, the Guidis, A tier. Guidis, in my opinion, are just incredible shoemakers, which is often the case whenever you come across a brand that does one thing. Obviously, Guidi's does like leather goods, and I think I've seen some pieces of outerwear from them, like leather jackets, but primarily Guidi is known for its shoes. And whenever you come across a brand that does just one thing, they tend to excel at that thing. So it's no surprise that this particular pair of boots, which I do not own, are in the A tier. Now, the Celine Jacno boots, these, I think this is going to be a harsh B because they would be between a B and an A. No, you know what? Strong B. No A. Sleek, beautiful. I haven't owned them, however, I have tried them on in person. The leather they used is absolutely incredible, and I'm a big fan of that sleek silhouette, especially with high heels. So these are like for me. And last but certainly not the least, we have the Rick Owens Glitter Creeper boots. A pair of boots that I've owned personally. I'm thinking. It's between a B and an A. I'll put them in B. And because this is minus, you can't do anything about it. But remember what I said earlier about me liking when I put on my boots and I just either zip them up or clip them in or whatever, but just be quick about it. These took absolutely forever to put on. Not only did you have to zip them up, fine. Then you had these long ass laces. Obviously you didn't have to do them all the way, all the time. But that final loop, you had to like loop it up 3 times around your calf prior to tying the knot. And that was just long. So that's why it's landed in B and not in A. because otherwise this is a fantastic boot. And that, ladies and gentlemen, primarily gentlemen, is the 2025 Boots Tier Ranking list. Wow, this is a much longer video than I had originally anticipated. I'm gonna call it a day here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like, thumbs up, subscribe, do all that other jazz, and I shall see you in 5 years for the next edition of the Boots ranking video. Peace.